putting out, that the United Methodist Church will be putting out, and just to be able to keep and reinforce those resources for people who might need them. I'm looking in the chat. Okay, you got the chat, Michael. So this proposal, and you are kind of our focus group. We've conversed with Cabinet, had some deep conversations with Bishop Merrill, and you are our first group of people that we could actually talk to about this outside of just that small group. So we're very anxious to quit talking and let you talk. And so anyway, I guess I'll turn it back over to Michael. He can share a few experiences, and then we're going to turn it over to you in just a minute.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. This is certainly in the idea phase.
Yes.
But we love this idea of creating this kind of network. And it's motivated because, and I see this all the time in my work right now, where I run into people who wake up feeling like they have been disaffiliated, so to speak, from a congregation, feeling like they have been exiled or orphaned. And we're hearing all of these kinds of words. They are heartbroken. And then at the same time, and I believe that this is the work of the Holy Spirit, they are being given a sense of hope. They're waking up and saying, I am a United Methodist Christian. That's who I am. That's who God is calling me to be. I want to affirm that identity, to live into my understanding of what that means. And then the next question becomes, how? Where? And we are all in kind of the wilderness trying to figure out what that might look like for people. So as one of the statements, just potential statements here, whether you are an individual or a group who has been displaced or churchless because of closing or disaffiliation, we want you to know that the Arkansas Conference is here for you during this time of grief, to help you navigate your continuing journey as a United Methodist Christian. I share that just as a way to provide some of the motivation for this idea. We want our congregations, all of our congregations, as Amy said, but also for some who feel a special calling, perhaps because they are already experiencing churches around them that are disaffiliating, and perhaps have already, I see some of you on the screen, I know some of you are already working on this. How can we be welcoming? How can we be a haven of peace for people, either as their future permanent church home, or as a place where they can land for a season as they figure out what their next steps might be. As a conference, and specifically through the Restart Initiative, we want to be able to put together some kind of resource where we can easily and hopefully in a very helpful way direct people to such congregations and to such resources. One idea is to do this beyond a congregation, but also to do something as a conference, to maybe do some kind of online experience. And I know some of you on this site have done some work on that kind of thing as well. And how could we incorporate that idea or build upon that idea to provide some networks of home churches or people or congregations who want to remain United Methodist. Under this section, becoming a beacon congregation, as we develop a website around this, there'll be a way to sign up for this. One idea is that we'll have kind of a Zoom webinar, hopefully very brief. I know the North Carolina Conference does something like this, and they say they promise that it will be under an hour. just to give some instructions around welcoming and some resources to show that we're all kind of doing something along the same kinds of lines. So that'll be a next step to kind of develop this out into a full-fledged program, if you will. So that's enough by way of introduction, and hopefully it's enough to give you kind of a sense of what we're thinking about doing. So I would like to go, Amy, if you can close that screen.
Okay.
Shared screen, and bring all of us up back together.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then if you have something you want to add to that, but what I was thinking at this point, we could go around the room, so to speak. And you certainly don't have to do this. I'm not going to call upon you. Just kind of popcorn this. But as a prompt question, why do you think we invited you to this initial gathering? With all of you, I think there's been some connection, or you've had some, at least, thoughts around what something like this might look like. So somebody jump in and just share your initial thoughts, your name, where you are, what's going on in your community around this.
Since I may have to go at 11:30, I'm gonna go ahead and go.
Thank you, Michelle.
So I'm Michelle Morris, and I am the pastor at First United Methodist Church in Bentonville. I think that I was invited to this because I have done as much as I have on online resourcing and content development, and I also was part of the group that launched Methodist Connection, which was one of those early experiments of trying to connect churches, and we learned some things from that, and be happy to share more on that at some point. But also I do serve a congregation that knows they're not going anywhere. I've had 0 people ask us to go through the disaffiliation process, and our church council also passed a statement that said that we are not leaving the United Methodist Church. We have no plans to. So we sort of stepped out, this congregation stepped out as a beacon fairly early on. That statement's been up for almost a year now. So, yeah.
Thank you. And
Thanks,
some of
Michelle.
your expertise and insights will be invaluable.
Who's next? How about Dee Dee?
I'm trying to, there we go. I was trying to unmute, believe it or not. Well, I'm Dee Dee Roberts, and I suspect that I was invited because Michael was afraid to leave me out. But also because I serve at First United Methodist Church in Conway, where we are experiencing a boom of new faces that are not only from disaffiliated congregations, United Methodist congregations in our area, but also there seems to be something happening within a couple or 3 of our more fundamentalist congregations here. And so we have a number of folks who are in process of what they even call deconstructing and reconstructing their faith. And so I am excited about the opportunity to get more intentional about invitation and providing that safe place and what we offer in terms of worship and other programming.
Thanks, Dee Dee.
David?
Yeah, David.
Were you speaking to someone else, David? Or
Well, first of all, I was going to say to Dee Dee, when you're talking about the other congregations, you're talking about people beyond the Methodist movement altogether. So I'm here by and large because of Michael Roberts, actually because of the Fun City Chorus. There's a group of people who want to stay United Methodist who are formerly members of the Piney Grove United Methodist Church. They had been meeting with Michael to talk about the possibility of a new church start on 70 West. And one evening, the restaurant, public space that they had been meeting was taken over for a banquet. And all of a sudden they needed to have someplace that they could come. And we had an open room. We had coffee and cookies. And we had a really good time that evening. Michael, thank you for reaching out and giving us the opportunity to serve. We already had a relationship with a number of the folks who were with you that evening. And they have asked permission to come and literally have a Sunday school class that will meet here at our place, and they're worshiping with us on Sunday, getting involved in some of our other ministries. Some of the people that are a part of that group have made it clear that they don't have the energy to be a part of a new church start. They want to be supportive of it. They're really looking for a new church home, and they think that they found it here at Grand Avenue, which is great. And of course, we've got people in our congregation who've said, well, what if when this group goes and plants a church someplace else, what if they take some of our members away from us? I said, as long as we get to pick who they take with them, it's good. No, and frankly, I'm trying to use levity as much as possible, because there are folks who are longtime members of Grand Avenue who, to my surprise, have said, who are these people and what are they doing in my church? And if Piney Grove disaffiliated, doesn't that mean that they were the conservative people, and all the people who are coming here are flaming liberals who are going to and just kind of there's a lot of fear that is kind of disembodied. If I had people that I could talk to about it, I could probably help to dismantle it. But I know that it's kind of lurking in the shadows. So we're trying to be proactive in terms of helping people to see the possibilities.
Yeah, thank you for that, David. And yes, this relationship between the members of the former Piney Grove United Methodist Church and Grand Avenue is certainly a case study in some ways in some of those dynamics that are all too real, that we're going to need to navigate with eyes wide open.
Right. So Michael, let me jump in and say one of the things that is being helpful is that we also have folks who are formerly affiliated with this church who are now members of the Fordyce Church. But since the Fordyce Church has disaffiliated, they are actually, in spite of the fact they live in Fordyce, they are moving their membership back here. They are worshiping with us online every week. They're worshiping here with us in person as often as they can. And when we start having folks from more than one congregation coming in, that's going to keep it from being an us versus them sort of thing, because there are going to be multiple groups of people. Then the one thing that we have in common is that we all want to be a part of the United Methodist movement.
Thank you.
Amanda, you're next on my family, Brady Bunch family squares.
Family tree. Good morning. My name is Amanda Smith. I serve in South Arkansas in Union County, which is the largest geographic county in Arkansas. And we have probably maybe now the fewest congregations that are staying United Methodist. My church, I serve Norfolk United Methodist and Centennial United Methodist. It's a really unique situation. So Norfolk United Methodist is still discerning whether to start the discernment process. So I covet your prayers. We have our administrative council meeting this coming Sunday. And so not sure where this congregation will be. And then I also serve Centennial United Methodist, which is in all extensive purposes, a closed United Methodist congregation that's not officially closed on the books, but they've not worshiped in over 2 years. And so I have a space that might have some potential for something new here in Union County, where we probably will need some newness. So I think that that's why I'm a part of this congregation. I'm committed to staying United Methodist no matter what Northfleet UMC does. I also, since we're a family, I'll share, I have a limited itinerancy because I help to raise stepkids. And so I know that I need to stay in this general area. And so I'm committed to continuing the work of the United Methodist Church in Union County, kind of the greater El Dorado, Arkansas area.
And you're on loan from Louisiana, right?
Correct. So I'm a member of the Louisiana Conference, serving here
So
in
glad
Arkansas,
to have you.
but I'm not going anywhere. We have young kids, going to be here for a long time. So
Good. Thank you. How about Zeke, another Southerner?
My name is Zeke Allen. I'm the pastor at First Methodist in Arkadelphia. I was part of the Methodist Connection, the early kind of pooling of some clergy that got together, and I'm certainly a United Methodist pastor and not going anywhere. I serve a congregation where, thank goodness, nobody is interested in disaffiliation. But as many of you know, the Southwest District is a dicey place, and there's lots of churches that have left. I think as a circuit elder, all but one of my original circuit has disaffiliated. And so I have a whole new, so we have people in my district, but also all around me, churches that have disaffiliated. So, but I have not seen an influx of people into my church, but certainly have talked with lots of people that have been affected by this.
Yeah, thank you, Zeke. It is very likely places like Arkadelphia, Harrison, Paragould, Monticello. I'm looking at some of you on the screen. The El Dorado area, Amanda, Pine Bluff, yes, where we're going to need to be thinking in terms of cathedral churches, regional churches, where we have perhaps we have a United Methodist hub that might be invited, hopefully kind of self-initiated, saying, yes, we can be a church that serves a larger area with community or regional youth groups or online experience. There are all kinds of options. Maybe not where they come 30 miles to you, but where your congregation is in mission to some of the other communities that surround the cathedral, so to speak. So these are just some things that I think we're going to have to be thinking about as we are forced to do ministry in some new ways.
How about let's call on Judy. Let's go a little further north.
So I'm Judy Rudd. I am the pastor here at Lakeside, and we did go through conversations around the disaffiliation process, and because of what was going on at First Church in Pine Bluff, our church members saw the dissension, the division, and all of that, and they came to the conclusion at the end of 4 listening sessions to not even take a vote because they did not want to be divided. And so I have been working with the leadership team since I knew that First Church was going to have their disaffiliation church conference around the 1st of January, to tell them for us to prepare. And so we have kind of been preparing for people to come to Lakeside, both emotionally and spiritually. There's still a lot of work to do, but we are regularly having 15 to 20 people from First United Methodist Church worship with us every Sunday. Our choir has tripled in size and I don't know what's left over at First Church, because we have a huge part of their choir here at Lakeside. And, it's been interesting. 1 or 2 people have been very instrumental. Not our people, but their people have been instrumental in inviting others to come and join them. There was an initial set of probably about 5 people I knew a lot of these people because I had been having conversations and trying to give them words of encouragement for months prior to their disaffiliation, kind of all through that process. But a lot of people have come, but there's been just a couple that have just invited their friends to be parts of the choir, to get involved in some of our ministries. And so a lot of that's happened kind of organically. One of the things that I'm encountering, and I knew to look for it because I've seen it happen in other churches, and David kind of touched on it a little bit. Our church members think that they're going to come over here and become members, and they are wanting to, they haven't yet done it that I'm aware of, but I'm afraid that they're going to begin to pressure folks to become members. And every time I hear that, I say, no, 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 no. We just want to be a safe place. We just want to include them. We just want to love them. Because and honestly, they do not want to become I've had several of them talk to me. They do not want to become members because they are still holding out hope that the called annual conference will not affirm their disaffiliation. I've done what I can to try to address that with them. But they will not move their membership or consider moving their membership until after the May called conference. So I don't know how much of that is going on in other locations, but it is definitely a motivation for some who are coming and trying to actually get involved in the life of the church. I mean, they've shown up for ministries, they've shown up for choir and for other things. We even actually just hired on a part-time basis their previous children's minister over there to help build our children's ministry. So, but they don't want to fully commit until they know that they don't have a church to return to. So they really truly are kind of in a floating kind of space. I will say that one of the things that I have said to a number of them and will continue to say, and it seems to give a lot of hope, is that I'm fully confident that the Holy Spirit is at work in the midst of all this. I don't know how the Holy Spirit's going to redeem this, but I am fully confident that the Holy Spirit is going to redeem all of this. And that seems to give them a lot of hope and a lot of comfort to know that there's something beyond what we can currently see. I will also say that I think I'm here because of that, and perhaps here because we have a Spanish ministry, Mi Casa ministry, that already has some tentacles out into the community beyond ourselves as we try to minister to the Hispanic community beyond the confines of Pine Bluff. And so that kind of opens a door for us as far as experience with trying to be, I wouldn't say the big cathedral church, but have beginning to think about in those terms. Not only is First Church already have had their church conference, Good Faith Car is the second largest church in Jefferson County besides Whitehall. And they will have their vote this week. And that will leave the city of Pine Bluff with two tiny 10 to 15 member churches. If they are approved, which it looks like they will. And I will also say that, on Sunday mornings, we don't always have people register and tell us where they are joining us from, but we have noticed some folks that have been joining us online that are in the community that we can't fully identify, but we've been trying to reach out to them in whatever means that we have possible to do that. So.
Thank you, Judy.
Yeah.
How about Alan?
Hello. Alan Crum. I'm serving Harrison First United Methodist Church up in North Central Arkansas. And why am I here? I have no clue why I'm here. I have no clue why I'm here most days, though. Anyways, no, actually, I probably know why. I know Michael and I have had several conversations. Kind of context situation, this church, we did not go through the discernment process, but we did have a couple meetings that were extremely divisive. So much that I've lost, I don't know how many people, some of which, yeah, didn't cry a tear. Nope. Bye. Sorry, I know that sounds harsh, but some of them were just, they were the reason why it was so divisive. And that's just the reality of it. If you don't want to be on the team and don't want to, try to work together, then, anyways, I'm hopeful that that is all settled right now. It seems to be fairly quiet, but it's hard to say. This is a very interesting situation, interesting church that has an unfortunate history of infighting, so to speak. But one of the things that I reached out to Michael a while back is just my deep sense of calling to work with, whether it be my church or other churches in healing, especially in the matters of grief, because I think that I shared with Michael that I feel that, churches that go through this process, that, one of my previous appointments has utterly been destroyed because of this. My home church is being destroyed because of this. In Fayetteville is my home church, and y'all know where that is, and it's been in the paper. I'm truly heartbroken over what I've seen happen. But I know that there is a lot of healing that needs to take place so that churches can move forward. And while I don't have extensive training in that, I'm working on it. In fact, I start in a couple weeks, the Emotionally Healthy Discipleship Leader course for 8 weeks, being trained directly by Pete Scazzaro and Drew Hune, who are the authors of the book. And then also just my own journey with trying to heal through grief of what's happened to myself, and learned how important it is to heal from those places of grief before you try to move forward, because that has been a problem for me. In my own life, you lose 2 family members in 6 weeks and it does a number to you. So I guess that's why I'm here.
Thank
That
you,
or the comic
Alan.
relief. I tend to be that too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so I could definitely see some of these resources around grief and as being great resources for all of us as we navigate these strange and turbulent waters.
Yeah.
We are moving towards our deadline for this initial conversation. If there are a couple of others here who would like to jump in and say something.
We haven't heard from Beth, Claire, and Dane.
Yeah.
Do
If-
any
if
of
you would-
y'all, would y'all
If you'd
like to
or
share?
we can move forward.
We would love to hear from all of you.
Sure, I'll go quickly. I'm assuming that I'm here because I have several churches around me that have disaffiliated. And when you're in small town Arkansas, that means there's members of my congregation that are family members, and we had several conversations about disaffiliation without moving in that direction. Also, I have been outspoken as a staying United Methodist person, and spoke at I think 7 churches that have all been in the disaffiliation process since, I don't know, September. I'm excited about the idea of I don't know if Lighthouse Ministry will work or that theme will work here in Arkansas, but I love the idea of being a place where a respite, right? A hospital for people, a place that people can find peace and healing and then move on in their discipleship journey, whether that's with us or at another church. So that's exciting and fun. And I love working with other clergy members in the Arkansas Conference. It's so good to see your faces. So it's giving me joy just to be here today.
Yeah. Zane, Dane, you want to add anything?
Sure. I mean, I'm in Paragould First. We have not started the process. We haven't had infighting per se, but there's some people who wish we were following in the shoes of Jonesboro First. we're just far enough from Jonesboro that it casts a shadow on us, but it's a little hard for those people to come here. It's, it's 25 miles depending on where you live around Jonesboro. So we've had some people visit. A lot of connections between our church and Jonesboro First. So just navigating that has been the primary challenge, narrating that. Of course, now it's in the legal process. And so the tenor has changed a little bit. Greene County, where Paragould is, we've just had some churches start the process this month. And so we're not as far along as others of you are in terms of kind of folks looking for a new church home or visiting other churches. That really hasn't happened here yet, but maybe it will in the next few months. We tried to stave off, and I did my best to stave off disaffiliation conversations for as long as possible, but some of the small churches caught the bug, and Jonesboro First has encouraged that to some degree. That's kind of where we're at. Yeah, the idea of being a regional church, I think that's somewhat our identity already. Maybe it will become more so that case. We're the county seat church, largest church in the county, and now one of the largest in the region, so hope we can resource and care for others while navigating this ourselves.
Thank you.
And I failed to mention, and Brian is also on here. Brian or Beth, do y'all want to chime in? Would love to hear from both of you.
Yeah, sure I can. I'm Brian Diffie. I serve at Monticello First United Methodist Church. And as far as I know, we are probably the central and largest United Methodist presence in our area. There are a lot of smaller congregations. Some of them have entertained the process of disaffiliation, but most of them are small enough that it's like 15, 20 members. They're all going to go with their church. And so there's not going to be a whole lot that would filter this way, but we are the largest United Methodist presence. Even if you were to go to CrossFit in Star City, we've kind of bounced back from COVID. We're worshiping about 140 to 45 on Sunday morning, and then over like 200 online. A guy from Uganda is actually worshiping with us every week. I thought he was a bot for a while until he mentioned our internet connectivity. I'm like, oh yeah, he's real if he knows our internet is messed up. So yeah, but anyway, I haven't had anybody, like several on the call, I haven't had anybody really entertain the fault of disaffiliation. I've had some questions. Hey, what is this? What's going on? And was able to kind of walk them through the history of, where we've been and where we're going. And so basically that's where we are. We're staying put and focusing on what we've continued to focus on. And we've seen growth, we've seen diversity. And so that's kind of where we're at. And we've got like I said, a lot of smaller congregations around us, and there hasn't been a lot of talk of disaffiliation, but I am now hearing rumblings about these smaller churches around us. But before now, it's just most of them are staying put, but a lot of them, they're so small. If they were to talk, if they were to vote, if they were to meet, you wouldn't know they were doing it anyway, unless they told you. It's the larger churches that really you notice what they're doing, because there's more people to talk, more people to share that information. So
yeah, Brian, one reason why you were on the call, and you did name it, but we and I've looked the map, and around Monticello, it's really interesting. It's interesting in the fact that there are not many of those smaller churches in the process right now. And Monticello in that regard is very different from El Dorado, for example, or Magnolia, Hope, Arkadelphia, where there seems to be a lot more interest in disaffiliation. So there's something about Monticello that the conversation is not coming up in the same way. So I'm curious as to why that is. I suspect it may have something to do with the Wesley Foundation there, and the pastors who are coming out of the Wesley Foundation there to serve some of those churches, but that's just a guess. But anyway, I'd like to build upon whatever it is.
Would anyone else like to share before we're going to need to close?
Yeah. If not, thank you for this conversation. Hopefully it's the beginning of a conversation. For an assignment, I'd like for you to perhaps look at, go to the North Carolina conference, their Lighthouse, they call it the Lighthouse Collective or something like that. And you can say Lighthouse congregations by district. You can click on that, and what they've done is that each of the churches that are serving in this way have written a description of their church and then a link to their website where you can, so that people could go and find churches in this way. Most of the descriptions, Amy.
I'm just
click
going to
on-
show as
yeah,
you're talking really
yeah,
quickly.
Do that. Go to the, I think it's the Capital District,
Okay.
and just scroll down through that.
And what you'll see by these is that there are, and this is kind of what we're looking at too, is, having a blurb about your church. It can be one sentence, it could be 4 sentences. It can, we can do whatever. Here's a reconciling church. But also at the very bottom, you'll see here that there is a very traditional church. And each one has a website, a link that you can click to for the website. And so that's one of the things that will keep some of our smaller churches that do not have websites, that will keep them from being able to be listed on here if you don't have a click-through link. Lots of people on here are taking advantage of inviting people to come to check out their online, and they are linking that as well. So anyway, but this is kind of what we're looking for. It's we're not looking to, we know that every church context is different and every geographic area is different. And so, we expect for every blurb and every photo to be totally different. And we would want you to create these blurbs with your leadership team or however you want to do. And we're a little cautious about being about naming ourselves, about saying we're progressive or we're traditional, or, there's some language that you're going to use in your context that you use every day, that's what we want you to use. But we also, we don't want this to be a target. We also don't want it to be association targeting. So anyway, that's going to be a little bit of the tricky part, if that makes sense. But we hope to be able to meet with y'all again. I would love for you just to be able to think about this, pray over this. I put in the chat a link to the North Carolina website, and I hope you get a chance to look at that. We'll gather again. We're about to go into an appointed cabinet meeting right now and share kind of some of the feedback on this idea of this concept. So anyway, thank you all so much for being with us. Michael, any last words?
Just I appreciate all of you in this regard. I think I've talked to all of you at some level around, not all of you, but many of you around some of this, and hope to continue the conversation. There is so much, I would say, spiritual motivation for being a beacon in the midst of very hard and challenging times for many, many people. How can we do this well? How can we do this faithfully? May this be an opportunity for us to be a light for the kingdom of God in a new way. And this is just one way that we're trying to channel that and think about that and figure it out. So please do pray about it. Give it some thought. We're going to move forward developing something that will help us move in that direction, and your input will be very much appreciated. As well as we hope that many of you will be among the very first beacon churches, if that's what we call them, helping us to find ways to be a haven of hope and peace, a place of hospitality for those who are being affected by disaffiliation. So thank you.
Y'all have a good day. Thank you so much for your time.